What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a major ice storm that is currently going to be impacting much of the Midwest. It's already bringing impacts to portions of the Deep South and already starting to in the Midwest. However, overnight tonight is when it's going to be particularly at its worst, so we're going to have to remain very vigilant about that, as there's already been a lot of slip and falls from what I've been seeing and from what I experienced as I slipped and fell on some ice on my way back to record this. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into it right here. We have ice storm warnings for parts of Missouri and Arkansas that are remaining into effect at the time of recording this video, including for Fayetteville and Fort Smith. Significant icing expected. Total ice accumulation from a quarter to a half an inch in combination with sustained winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour with higher wind gusts. This remains in effect until actually 3 p.m. this afternoon by the time this video gets out. So, yeah, either way, it's still going to be particularly interesting right here. We have another ice storm warning for parts of Missouri over here. Let's go ahead and see when this expires right here. Expires at 3 p.m. So, yeah, it'll be done by the time we're done filming this video. But either way, the ice accumulations has been pretty significant for a lot of areas. We have a winter weather advisory in effect for St. Louis and another one for Chicago, mainly due to ice over here. And this remains in effect until 9 p.m. this evening. Total ice accumulations between 1/10 and 2/10 of an inch for portions of south central and southwest Illinois until 9 p.m. this evening. If we go ahead and go to St. Louis County over here and get a more direct link of what we're looking at, it's additional ice accumulations up to 2/10 of an inch. This is in effect until 6 p.m. this evening. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. But the main stuff that's going to be impacting is central Illinois and the Chicago area once again. I know the Chicago area keeps getting hit by freezing rain and more freezing rain and more freezing rain. It's pretty ridiculous at this current point, but either way, this is what we have. This is the winter weather advisory for parts of central Illinois. A dusting of snow and sleet accumulations up possible, and ice accumulations of 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch at this current point in time. In parts of the Chicago area, their winter weather advisory did get upgraded over here to, I believe, 2/10 to 3/10 of an inch right here. Yeah, 2/10 to 3/10 of an inch of additional ice accumulation, and that remains in effect until 9 a.m. tomorrow. So that's going to be particularly important, and that's going to also be kind of crazy as well as we continue to show this. There's also ice possible for parts of Indianapolis as well. Over here, here's the situation. This goes into effect from 4 p.m. this afternoon until 10 a.m. Tuesday. As you can see right here, we're looking at ice accumulations of up to 1/10 of an inch. So yeah, it's going to cause some potential travel issues. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. And now we're going to go ahead and go to the Detroit area to see what their winter weather advisory is like, because I know they are expected to get some snow. Yeah, heavy mixed precipitation expected. Total snow and sleet accumulation up to 2 to 4 inches, and ice accumulations of around 1/10 of an inch. And this is for parts of northeastern Michigan over here. For Detroit proper, we can go ahead and show you that. Detroit, Ann Arbor, those areas right here. It's in effect from 2 p.m. this afternoon till 4 p.m. on Thursday. We're looking at mixed precipitation, snow accumulations of up to 2 inches, and ice accumulations up to 2/10 of an inch. So we're going to have to pay very close attention to this, and they extend all the way out to Pennsylvania over here. If we can go ahead and show you that, the area around State College, Pennsylvania, the winter weather advisory over here. Areas of freezing rain, possibly mixed with sleet on the onset. Ice accumulation of a glaze, if any, and little, if any, snow accumulation. So I can understand why they put out the winter weather advisory. However, the criteria over there seems a bit loose, but again, because ice has no friction, that's why I can understand that. Winter weather advisory for parts of Cleveland and those areas over here. Actually, this is for Toledo and that area right there. This is for freezing rain, 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch expected. So overall, we have a pretty big situation going on across there. I know you're probably saying, Patrick, these are winter weather advisories. This is not a big situation. It is when it comes to ice, because unlike snow that at least has a little friction, ice has zero friction, and it only takes probably 1/10 of an inch of ice to cause a lot of travel issues right there. It takes 1/4 of an inch of ice to make things even more problematic, so we're going to have to pay attention to that as we continue to look at this. And we have more models that are coming in that are showing some potential threats going on with this ice that's happening. Let's go ahead and start with the HER, then go to the RAP, and then the rest of the models over here. The HER model is having this ice really starting to ramp up across central Illinois as of right now, and then things start to taper off for that portion over there as the rain starts to set in. But then then for parts of the Chicago area, things start to ramp up a bit, and we start seeing heavier bands of ice, especially overnight. This is 2 a.m. that this is going on, and we also starting to see some snow falling for parts of the Chicago suburbs, for parts of the Milwaukee area, parts of Michigan over here, and then things really getting pretty intense. By the time we're at 7 a.m. tomorrow, it's still going to be icing as the storm starts to pass, and there is going to be a freezing rain mix for pretty much most of the day Tuesday until it finally subsides around 4 p.m. in the Chicago area, but continues in Michigan, and the snowfall continues for a lot of areas in the upper lower peninsula of Michigan and the more rural areas as that finally continues to settle off, and there is the potential for more freezing rain as the snowpack is not going to be totally melted on Wednesday. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. What are we looking at for freezing rain accumulation? Pretty significant for a lot of areas. If we go ahead and start in parts of St. Louis, it ranges from about 1/10 of an inch of ice to areas near Chicago over here. Let's go ahead and zoom into this on the HRRR. We're looking at potentially up to almost an inch of ice if this holds. And if that were to happen, they would have to put out an ice storm warning if that was the case, because the criteria is a 1/2 inch of ice no matter what at this point. Areas in northwest Indiana, anywhere from around near the coast of Lake Michigan, like maybe 2/10 of an inch to 3/5 of an inch of ice in parts of Porter County, almost 3/4 of an inch in parts of LaPorte County. That's going to be particularly crazy right there if the HRRR is the correct model, of course. Now, if we go ahead and zoom out a bit and get a grander scale, parts of Detroit could see 1/10 of an inch of ice, and parts of Toledo, though, they could see almost 1/4 of an inch of ice. Same with Indianapolis, although Cleveland, we're going to see maybe a little ice right there. And if we go ahead and show you the snow accumulation with this, mainly the snow is going to be in the northern Chicago suburbs, parts of Milwaukee, parts of Madison, and mainly in parts of Michigan over here. We're looking at anywhere over here from 2 to 4 inches of snow as the NWS was anticipating at this current point. So that's what we have going on with the HRRR model. Next, we're going to go ahead and show you the RAP right here to get kind of a cross-check to see what we're potentially looking at. We're going to use the 15Z since that just came out. The RAP model is bringing a lot of stuff going on, and no, that I'm not going to be performing a mixtape or anything like that. I know it says it's the RAP model, but we got an ice storm coming. That's too important. But anyway, back to what I was saying. We have ice happening overnight from much of the Chicago and Detroit areas, and then things start to turn into rain or snow depending on where you guys are at, although some mixed precipitation is plausible into Tuesday morning, primarily due to that snowpack that's over there. The reason I say the snowpack is going to potentially lead to ice is because as snow melts, it does something that's known as latent heat release. Well, essentially, in layman's terms, what that does is all the heat that it has kind of just goes into the atmosphere. It's released into the atmosphere. But the problem is the snowpack that was falling in very cold temperatures, and considering the fact that we were at pretty much near zero temperatures for over a week with the snow happening, and then more snow falling in the Chicago area, that snow is not going to be 30 degrees. It's probably going to be maybe closer to 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And that latent heat that's going to release is going to keep the atmosphere cool enough to potentially cause some freezing rain issues if that continues to happen. But that's what we have with the RAP model. The snow system starts to move out. Here's the total snow accumulations real quickly. It's actually a bit more aggressive than the HRRR is. Anywhere from 3 to 5 inches from Iowa all the way to Milwaukee. Same in Michigan over here. If we go ahead and show you the freezing rain accumulation, it's not as extensive as the HRRR is, but it's still rather interesting to take a look at. Potentially another 1/4 of an inch of ice in some parts of the Chicago area, and same in Michigan. We're almost at 1/4 of an inch of ice in parts of Detroit and Ann Arbor over here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. We're still looking at over 1/2 an inch of ice possible for parts of central Illinois, including Macoupin County, including areas near Springfield, Decatur, those areas. So we're going to have to pay attention. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the North American model. And the NAM over the last few runs has been kind of modest, to say at the very least, when it comes to ice accumulation. But I'm still going to show it anyway so we can get an aggregate of what we're looking at. And the NAM is having this kind of stop around 3 a.m. on Tuesday for much of the Chicago area, transition to rain, and then things start to calm down by Wednesday morning. That's what we have right here. Here's the total freezing rain accumulation right here. Yeah, it's generally providing less freezing rain than we were looking at previously, although it's still going to be somewhat significant. Although it is giving the area around St. Louis up to a half an inch of ice still, which, to be honest, as scary as that may sound, I find that a little unrealistic for several reasons. Because number one, the ice storm is already over parts of St. Louis right now. It's over parts of Chicago as well. We can go ahead and pinpoint that out on radar scope right here. Here's the precipitation depiction. Yeah, there's already a lot of freezing rain going on for parts of St. Louis. It's kind of like mixed precipitation. It has that pretty color feel to it, or in parts of Chicago and parts of Decatur over there. So that's why I'm not entirely trusting the NAM, at least in parts of St. Louis. As for the rest of it, it's definitely reasonable to say that this underperforms and the warm air advection does start to kick in a little bit earlier. However, at this current point in time, the temperature is just too cold for that, and that latent heat release from the snow melting in a lot of these areas is going to kind of keep it from warming up too fast. As for the snow accumulation, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches in a lot of these areas, especially the heaviest parts are going to be in Michigan over here, especially in central Michigan near Lansing over here. So that's what we have with the North American model. NAM Nest, similar situation, although it's by the hourly, but we'll still show it anyway. NAM Nest has been pretty interesting to say the very least, and this is showing that ice happening until about 4 a.m. on Tuesday as warm air advection starts to kick in, and then things really start to become very snowy for parts of Michigan over there. Once again, here's the snow accumulation, 3 to 5 inches for a lot of the areas, potentially up to 2 to 3 inches for parts of Milwaukee and Madison over there. As for the ice accumulation right here, ice accumulation is somewhat interesting, although they are giving St. Louis still almost over 1/3 of an inch of ice. They're giving the Chicago area, anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice, although the warning, or not warning, the advisory is now for 2 to 3/10 of an inch of ice, which, if it does get over 1/4 of an inch of ice, it's going to start causing a lot of problems in the long term. Here's what we have with the GM RDPS right here. Unfortunately, this does not give out ice accumulation like the other models do, but we are gonna kind of show the satellite and the radar of it, and then we'll hop over to the GFS to get an ice accumulation that way. Here's the GM RDPS. Kind of showing a similar setup, although it's actually causing the freezing rain to turn over to snow and then rain a lot earlier than anticipated, at least with this system right there. So that's going to be a pretty interesting setup. Similar situation with the GM GDPS. We're actually going to have to zoom in on this because that's the only sector it can provide. Although it does have freezing rain happening for longer, we're going to have to pay attention to that as more data continues to go in. And finally, the GFS right here, if we can go ahead and show you that. I would show you the European, but it doesn't give us like precipitation type. It just gives us simulated reflectivity, which kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. Here's the GFS right here. Things are starting to get pretty interesting, and then and then as we get into the early morning, it starts transitioning to rain and snow, and brings a lot of snow to Milwaukee, Michigan, those areas right there. And it's the GFS going a bit haywire with this. We're getting anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snow for parts of northern Illinois and parts of Wisconsin, and even into Michigan over here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. Ice accumulation, that's critical thickness. Ice accumulations in Chicago are interesting. Chicago proper is looking at potentially up to a half an inch of ice if the GFS is the correct one. And parts of Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, anywhere from like 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice, but still very interesting situations to pay attention to. We'll keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.